What's up, everybody? My name is Dell. This is Dell on Movies. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you've been here before, thanks for hanging out with me again. And as you may be able to tell, I got a stack of movies with me right here. And that's because my guy Tim over at Tim Talks Talkies is issuing another challenge to us. Not really a challenge. He's doing a community list. And if you remember, if you are a follower of this community, you remember that he did horror a few months back in October, and he did Christmas movies around Christmas time. So this time he's doing 90s movies. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my list to submit to him, my top 25 90s movies. So let's just go ahead and get into it because we got 25 movies to talk about. Let's go ahead with the first one, number 25, and that is The Five Heartbeats. Robert Townsend movie follows a fictional group, but it feels oh so real. And this movie may feature in an upcoming episode of Movie Swap, so tune in for that one. At number 24 is the first of a couple of appearances by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this one I feel is right near the top of his filmography, and it is Total Recall. Is it real? Is it a dream? What's going on here? Somebody let me know. Let me know in the comments. Is it real or was it a dream? Number 23 is going to be one of the great crime dramas of all time. Mr. Michael Mann gave us Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat. It's just a all around fantastic movie. Just really no faults to it, even at a 3 hour runtime, just about. So if you haven't seen Heat and you're into crime movies, you need to get on it. Number 22, one of my all-time favorite basketball movies, and it is directed by Spike Lee and it stars Denzel Washington, and that is He Got Game. So in this one, it also stars Ray Allen, is NBA Hall of Famer or soon to be Hall of Famer. I can't remember if he's actually in or not. Um, but he is in the lead role. Not a great actor, but when you got Denzel to back you up, you don't really need to be. Rosario Dawson is awesome in this movie. Number 21 is going to be a recent Criterion addition, and that is Love Jones with Lorenz Tate and Nia Long. So I had to include this one. This is a movie my wife and I saw back on a date and years and years ago, and we both really loved the movie, so it stuck with us ever since. At number 20 is a movie a lot of you are going to tell me is way too low on my list, but it's my list, so this is where it goes. It's number 20. Some of you will say this is the greatest action movie of all time. How could it be so low? But number 20 is still pretty good for a whole decade. It's T2, and this is the whole Terminator box set here that has the first four movies on there. So I don't have it individually, but it is in there. Number 19, Hood Classic. I couldn't leave it off the list, and it is Juice with Omar Epps and an amazing performance by one Tupac Shakur as Bishop. Definitely check it out. I know a lot of you went out and bought the Steelbook when it came out. I hope you watched it. If you haven't, go watch it. Number 18, another movie a lot of you are gonna say, hey, how can it be so low? This is Tarantino's best, or one of Tarantino's best, and it is one of Tarantino's best, and I got it at number 18. Again, pretty good for a whole decade, and that is Reservoir Dogs. No, I don't have the fancy smancy steelbook that just came out. Hopefully I'll get that soon. Fingers crossed, guys. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If not, I'll get it on 4K eventually, maybe, possibly. It's not a movie I really need to see all that clearly, but you can fight me on that one. But let's move on to number 17. Number 17 is a movie that uh, is a lot of people seem to like it. Well, okay. Everybody seems to like this movie when I talk to them personally about it, but when I look up like critic scores and even online fan scores, it gets one of the lower grades in the franchise, and so I'm always confused by that. But for me, it's my favorite in the franchise, even though the first one again is another movie you all say is the greatest action movie ever, and that is going to be Die Hard with a Vengeance. So here is my steelbook with the Die Hard uh, collection, and of course we're talking about Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is right there. Number 16, arguably the greatest war movie of all time, one of Steven Spielberg's best movies ever made, and that is Saving Private Ryan. The just the opening 30-40 minutes of this movie is just spectacular, and then after that, I still think it's spectacular after that because it just tells the story through action, and a lot of people seem to think it goes downhill after that. I mean, it kind of does, but when you start some of the best action ever filmed, some of the best war scenes ever filmed. I mean, where else is there to go? But it's still fantastic movie, Saving Private Ryan. Number 15 for me is another action movie that I really love, and this one is also doubles as a Christmas movie. And it is Samuel L. Jackson is the sidekick in the movie. Gina Davis is the star, and she just tears it up. And that is The Long Kiss Goodnight. I hope more of you have it on there so that you can get this movie on that list. I probably should have put it higher for that reason, but hey, had to stay truthful. Long Kiss Goodnight is fantastic, but I had to sit it right here at number 15. Number 14 is a movie that really needs to be on Blu-ray if it isn't. I've never seen it anywhere on Blu-ray. It's only on DVD. But a remake slash reboot slash re something or another was made earlier this year. So hopefully that means when that movie hits physical media, this one will get at least a Blu-ray upgrade, if not a 4K. And that is one of the best hip hop movies ever made, and House Party, the original, with Kid and Play, not with other folks in it. So I just love this movie. I went and saw this movie in theaters so many years ago, back when it came out, and it's been one of my favorites ever since, especially among hip hop movies. So go ahead and check out the original, no matter what you think of the remake, because it was horrible. But go ahead and check out this one. Number 13, we got another hood classic, and this one stars one Wesley Snipes. It was his first role as a villain for sure, and one of his first big breakout roles, and that is playing Nino Brown in New Jack City. It's another movie I went to see in theaters so long ago, and I don't know how many times I've seen it since then. It's just fantastic. But what I really want to tell you about this movie is something else. I went and a couple of weeks ago and actually saw this, which is the stage play New Jack City. I didn't know about this play until a few months back, and it just so happened to come near us, about 20 minutes from us, and I couldn't resist. My wife and I, we was like, oh man, we got to go see that. So we went, and it's a musical. First off, this movie is not a musical, so if you're not a musical fan and you just want to see a gangster movie, just go ahead and check out the movie. But if you get a chance to see the play, it's fun. It's goofy because it is a musical, and they're trying to make you laugh every couple of seconds, where the movie doesn't do that. But it is a fun time. It's really goofy, and just looking at the cast, right in the center is Alan Payne. He plays G Money in the stage play. He also played G Money in the movie, and the movie came out in the 90s, early 90s at that. So good to see him still around. I know he's been on TV a lot over the last few years, but he took this role and ran with it. And if you look over here, we have Tretch plays Nino Brown. He's from Naughty by Nature. If you're not familiar with the name Tretch, you may be familiar with the songs OPP, Hip Hop Hooray. That's him. Him and his group was Naughty by Nature. He plays Nino Brown. This gentleman right next to him, Gary Dordan, he was on one of the CSIs. I can't remember. He plays the Ice-T role. He's the cop. And on the opposite side, right here, we got one of the all-time great MCs, Big Daddy Kane. He plays the Mario Van Peebles role. He's the police sergeant, or the police captain, excuse me. And then you have this guy over here, comedian Flex Alexander. He's had an up and down career, but he's always managed to be in the spotlight as kind of a B, C, D level celebrity for all these years. He's probably most known for he had a series called One on One where he played a single dad, and he was also unfortunately known for playing Michael Jackson in a VH1 biopic. But this is a fun time, if extremely goofy. But go ahead and check out the movie, because I don't think you can find this anywhere. But the movie is fantastic. Number 12, we got to run on hood classics here. So number 12 is yet another one, and this is one a lot of people will put higher up, but I didn't. I slotted it here, even though it is a movie that you kind of have to see. Even though by the end of it, you might feel kind of down, but it is Menace to Society, and this Criterion version came out, I think last year, it might have been 2021, but it's got rave reviews for a reason. It looks really, really good. And I know a lot of people again bought it just because it's Criterion. If you haven't actually watched it, go ahead and give it a look. At number 11 is another one of those movies you figure it's got to be at the top, right? It's got to be at the very top. But I have it number 11. That's a great spot. And it'll make Tim happy that it's on my list. And that's none other than the original Jurassic Park. This is the another one of those big box sets. And every time I hold this box set or every time I show it, I got to kind of tell the story as a 4K. I was in Walmart one day and this was actually on, it was sitting on one of those one of those circular, not circular, but one of the racks, standees they have in the middle of the aisle that has movies on it. And this was back when they kept 4Ks and stuff like that. Um, and it was marked, I think, was it marked 20 and 29.99? Might have been marked even cheaper than that. Might have been 19.99. It was marked, and I wasn't planning on buying that day, but I was like, hey, 19.99. I got four Jurassic Park movies on here. Let's do it. Got all the way up to register, rang it up, and it was I think 39.99. And I had a decision to make, and I was like, well, I'm not even gonna argue it because it was just clearly just sitting in the wrong slot. Somebody had moved it, and I just went and grabbed it. So I paid 20 more bucks than I thought I was gonna pay for it. But hey, it's Jurassic Park. What are you gonna do? Now that brings us into our top 10, or my top 10. I shouldn't say our. That brings us into my top 10, and these are movies that are all some of my favorites of all time. Just it was hard to come up with an order for these, other than the top three. I would say after the top, well, even the top four. I'll say the next 5 through 10 were kind of rough to put in certain spots, but I think I came up with the right order, at least for me today. Next week, if I do this, maybe something different. But I'm gonna start with my number 10 here, and that is the original, the OG Lion King. And you all know the story, so I'm not gonna talk much about this. It's just a animated version of Hamlet that's just goes hard. So the story I want to tell here is I told you about how I got fleeced out of a few bucks for Jurassic Park. I want to tell you the opposite story, not a real story, just saying, hey, I found this in a pawn shop for 3 bucks. So it all evens out in the end, right? Number nine, another one of those all-time favorite movies for me, and this one is my very favorite Tom Hanks movie of all time. We went on a stream and we talked about top five Tom Hanks movies. I couldn't have anything else number one but this one. Forrest Gump gets my number nine for the 90s. For number eight, I moved from my favorite Tom Hanks movie to my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, and this is the one that it took what Dogs did to another level, and it kind of cemented the Quentin Tarantino style, the way he shot the movie, and the time jumps that he does in the movie that he's become pretty known for. And the dialogue is just crazy ridiculous, so much so that it inspired a generation of writers to try to copy him. But I'm talking about none other than Pulp Fiction. And that brings me to my number seven. Number seven is, I would, well, not the highest, but it is one of those appearances of Ice Cube. I have a couple appearances of Ice Cube from here on, and this is the first one. And this one is a comedy classic, and this one is Friday. This DVD version for my friends who have never seen Friday. This is the preferred version to get, because it is a theatrical cut, and the theatrical cut is better than what's on the Blu-ray, which is the director's cut, which stretches out the movie a little bit. This one, again, doesn't look as good as that one, but what we really need is a Friday franchise box set. I will be there day one to buy that one. So if anybody who is in charge of putting these things together happens to come across this video, please give me a Friday box set. At number six, even though I thought about putting this movie at number seven because of the name of the movie, but it's one of the best thrillers ever made, and that is the movie Seven. I have it at number six, so I confuse myself sometimes, and I'm going to leave it at that, other than to say that I now know what's in the box, and if you don't know, see Seven. At number five is going to be the highest of what I call the hood classics, and not the highest black movie, but definitely the highest one that deals directly with what's going on in the hood, and it's even in the title, and that's Boys in the Hood. And yeah, another fantastic steelbook over here. So yeah, this one, the difference between this one and Menace to Society, I think Menace tells a great story, fantastic story. This one actually it balances out the bleakness and the despair and the hope. There's a little bit of both. Because Menace doesn't have much of the hope, but this one is it's a classic, definitely for a reason. One of the great debut films of all time. So I don't know how many people out there haven't seen Boys in the Hood yet, but definitely go check that one out. Number four is I'm saying a lot of my favorites of all time because these are some of my favorites of all time. This was one of my favorite gangster movies of all time. Probably my favorite mob movie ever made. And I do love the Godfather movies from one and two anyway. And I do love a lot of other mob movies, but this is the one that takes the cake for me. And that is Goodfellas. And I'm showing this off because I don't see much of this particular steelbook when I see for steelbooks. When I see steelbooks for Goodfellas, I see a few different ones, but this is the one that I have, and it's kind of a matte finish. So I know a lot of people don't like that. I actually prefer that because the glossy ones, the fingerprints show up really easily. But Goodfellas, it's an amazing movie from start to finish. For me, it's Scorsese's best, and that will take us to my number three. Number three, my number one horror movie of all time. Number three movie of the '90s, which tells you about how high I think of the other two movies. But definitely going with Scream here for my number three movie of the '90s. It just changed the game for me as far as horror movies are concerned. I haven't ripped it out the plastic yet. I need to do that, and because I am going to watch the movie again, so there's just no doubt about that. And that brings me to my number two movie. My number two movie is one of Spike Lee's best movies, not my favorite of his of all time. My second favorite Spike Lee movie, and it contains one of the best performances ever committed to film as far as I'm concerned. That's Denzel Washington in the lead role as none other than Malcolm X. Denzel is so good in this movie. Let me tell you about this. In my younger years, I read a lot of Malcolm X speeches, listened to Malcolm X, read and listened to a lot of Malcolm X books and speeches, including the autobiography of Malcolm X. Had a poster of him on my wall, so I'm very well familiar with his face. But ever since I've seen this movie, if I think of Malcolm X, I see that face first, and then I have to remind myself that that's not actually Malcolm X, and then I'll get the picture of the real Malcolm X. So, a mesmerizing performance by him in a fantastic movie. If you want to know about the life of Malcolm X, this is definitely a movie to check out. It sticks pretty close to the autobiography for most of the movie. When we get to the end, things not I wouldn't say not made up, but the source material has to change because Malcolm X didn't write part of his own death. So we'll definitely allow the movie that. And that's going to take me to my number one movie of the '90s. It's a movie, there's so much happening, there's so much to contemplate in this movie, and there's lots and lots of action, lots and lots of martial arts, and that's going to be The Matrix. And the special effects also a game changer here. So I mean, it's been parodied so much, all the effects that are in this movie, but that's only because they're great. You know, you don't parody something that nobody knows or nobody likes. You parody the great things, and The Matrix is a great thing. No matter what you think of the rest of the series, the rest of the franchise, this one stands the test of time as an amazing film. And I hope they're done because Resurrections was not all that great, but I will always have the original, The Matrix, 1999. So that's my top 25 movies of the '90s. If you want to get in on the action, go ahead and check out Tim's video. I'll leave a link to it in my subscription and find out how to do that. But I can give you the quick rundown. It's just, hey, either send him the list, comment on his video with your list, send it to him on Instagram or send it to him in his email. So you don't have to make a video, but you can make a video like I did, and he'll get it and he'll put it all together. His video explains how to do that. I hope all of you have done it and show support for Tim, even though it's going to be also giving Tim a lot of work. But it's going to give us a truer representation of what our little corner of the Bluetooth community thinks are the 25 or best movies of the 90s. So I'm looking forward to see the final product. I hope you are too. That's all I have for you on this one, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.